Navarin, Navarin, whatever you want to call it, this ship right here is this update's campaign ship, the one that you get for putting your $15. And today we're going to go over, is it worth it? Go over the build, give it a good old review. So if that sounds good to you, let's hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's dive on in. First things first, Navarin. Well, her unique thing is that she is one of the only, if not the only, secondary focused Russian battleship. So in the first lot, we are running secondary battery mod 2, then we are running prop mod, then we are doing concealment, and finally main battery mod 3. As far as her consumables go, because she's a Russian battleship, she does have a limited number of damage control parties. We're limited to 5 of them, but they have a quick reload at 36 seconds. Then we have 4 heals. Now, one thing to note is these heals were significantly nerfed compared to when the ship was in testing. Last update, the ship was in testing, and a perfect heal, i.e. if you could heal back every bit of damage that a heal could, a heal would give you 15,540 health back. Well, with this nerfed version of Navarin, you are looking at 9,716, so about 5,000 less health than you would have last update. Finally, we do have enhanced secondary targeting because this is a secondary focused battleship. As far as our commander goes, we are running the good old Mikhail Kedrov. We have Von Hipper and Haruna as the inspirations. Then we're running not one for nuisance. I think Brawler takes too much range away from this ship in order to use Brawler. As much as I'd like the better reload, I think the 10% main battery range penalty is just too much to handle in this ship. Then we have Porcupine, Volunteer, Master Mechanic, and running with Scissors. If you don't have Haruna, you could run either someone like Makawa for better concealment if you're a free-to-play player, or if you followed our guide back when Pedro de Lima, I believe his name, Pedro Lima Santos was available. He's another secondary battery commander that could help you out there. So that's our commander. Let's dive in to those stats, and we will just get going. Base hit points 69,400 with an armor between 19 and 400 millimeters. If we take a look, this thing in theory is quite the tank. 32 millimeters of armor encasing you pretty much all around. It has a lower belt that I think is within like the 50s. Yeah, well, upper belt is 32. I think that middle belt is 50. That lower belt 340. Of course, though, the Citadel is sticking out of the water, so if you do get out of position in this vessel, you are in for a very rough time. It will do the standard Stalin boom of being compromised from the side that most Russian ships do. Okay, that's survivability. Torpedo damage reduction is sitting at 24%. Artillery, you got 3 4-barreled 406 millimeter guns, i.e. 16 inchers. Firing range on them, 16.7 kilometers, 31.5 second reload time. HE shell damage, 5,850 with a 41% chance to set fire. Or if you're firing AP, you're looking at a max of 11,000 damage. These secondaries, you have 130 millimeter secondaries bristling all over this ship with a range of 11.1 kilometers and a 9% chance to set fire, which is, hey, pretty good overall. AA, a pretty decent AA speed, especially for a Russian ship. Usually the Russian ships are not huge in the AA department. This one, definitely a step up than the usual. Max range of that AA 5.2 kilometers, minimum range 2.5. Maneuverability is where the ship starts to fall behind, but I think you would expect it. Looking at it, it's a very old looking design. 27.5 knots, turning circle 770 meters, and a rudder shift time of 14.7 seconds. Finally, we move on to concealment. Detectability by sea, 13.1. Detectability by air, 10.9. And smoke fire penalty is 14.7. And those are the stats of the Navarin. And let's now go ahead and head to a game in this ship. So welcome to Northern Waters. Now, before we dive in and talk about the ship or the game, a quick little channel announcement. Starting tomorrow, I am actually gone for 3 weeks. I have a business trip that I will be at sea for the majority of the time. So you may see me pop up here and there. I've pre-recorded several videos, but if there's any big news, you probably won't be seeing a video for me because my next 3 weeks of content is pretty much all pre-recorded. So yeah, just a little heads up. Anyways, Northern Waters, sea spawn in the Navarin. Now, the Navarin is a bit of a unique ship for the Russians because it is a secondary focused battleship, which does mean we get to play it a bit differently than we would any other of the ships in the line. We want to get into range of the secondaries. Now, our secondary range is 11.1 kilometers, so we're going to use this island here to kind of wait until some ships are within our range and try to take some pot shots when we can. Now, there's kind of 2 ways you play the Navarin. One is the way we're playing here, where you kind of give up a little angle, you shoot, and you tuck back in. Navarin, a very durable hull that can stand up to a lot of punishment when facing forward like this. The other way you can play Navarin is to try and basically get your tail out and use the fact that your 2 rear guns are so biased back there that they are able to fire in the rear. And we have Concealment pop up here, which is good news for us. One, we see those torpedoes go by, but also he's well within our secondary range. So we're kind of relying on our friendly right here. Is that the Split, I believe, which is, of course, the new Pan-European line that has the long duration sonar when paired with its smokescreen, and that's exactly what he's doing here, which is going to give our secondaries plenty of time to start kind of eating away at the Concealment and also getting our primary guns on target. And you can see that radar is probably going to drop off fairly shortly. We're probably not going to get another shot off with our main gun, but our secondaries, we got 1 more salvo free, and he is with very little health, and we are able to pick up the kill, which is great news for us. But it does now change a little bit of this battle, because you can see the Pommern is now turning out because he's afraid of the Split. And this Nebraska is not moving, so I don't know if he's playing or not, I'll be honest. We're kind of waiting to see if any rounds come from him, but what we can now try to do is move up closer to these guys using these islands as cover, especially because their eyes have been essentially knocked out. If we can move closer, maybe we can get into secondary range. If we can get into secondary range, then we can start doing some damage. The main guns on Navarin are fairly strong, 16-inch guns, nothing to joke about, nothing to really scoff at, especially up at tier 8. That's kind of what you kind of expect at this tier. As far as accuracy goes, they do kind of let you down. Pommern being, perfectly broadside here, we'll see what we get, but you can see just how much vertical dispersion we get with these shells. I did try Navarin with an accuracy build, and it did control the vertical dispersion a lot, but we still got a lot of horizontal dispersion, which I guess is to be expected given kind of the gun layout. But overall, I was not impressed using a dispersion build, a accuracy build on Navarin. I do think the secondaries are the way to go, especially because it's kind of the unique way you play as we pick up that kill on Monarch. It's kind of the unique thing about this ship. So you should, when you have these ships like this, you play to its strengths, or if it doesn't have massive strengths, which I think is kind of the case in Navarin. I think, especially without the heal, it does find itself getting in a little bit more trouble than it can heal out of. Then, you play to what makes it fun and what makes it unique. In this case, that's secondary. You see, we're finally in range of the Pommern here, and we're going to try to start engaging him. We get a very good hit on him as we get absolutely slapped, showcasing the weakness of the Navarin and pretty much all Russian battleships, which is that that very exposed citadel from a broadside, and we pay very dearly with the amount of health we lose. Thankfully, Nebraska here loaded HE, or else I think we'd be feeling that again. But now we're going to need to kind of fight in that second style that we were talking about, not pushing in, and kind of giving ourselves a bit more room, especially between us and this Nebraska. I was hoping we could maintain secondary range of some of the other ships, because that really does feel like where we pick up a lot of our bonus damage. Like I said, the main guns are perfectly adequate. They do just feel when you're not in secondary range, you know, that Russian accuracy does sort of let you down. So we're kind of turning out here. Luckily for us, Pommern has decided that he's pushed out enough that he wants to come back in. I mean, I understand he's a brawler too. He's looking to get within close. He's just lost a lot of his health. As you can see, we take some pretty big hits, even though we are, I guess, what you consider angled. But once again, I think the front of the ship is really where the armor is. The rear, you have to be willing to give up a lot of these shots, and we end up losing our front turret, oddly enough. And you can see the one other downside of this, like playing the ship backwards, is those two rear turrets aren't in super firing positions, i.e. they are not one above the other. So you do have to introduce a little bit of angle into the ship in order to get those rear firing guns to both go off at the same time. So no matter what, you can't perfectly really angle in the ship and get more than one gun on target, which is just something you kind of have to keep in mind. But Pommern and Nebraska now pushing in within our range. Nebraska tantalizingly close to that secondary range. So we're going to kind of try to angle in. Like we said earlier, we are not the fastest ship. We do pick up that citadel there, which is very nice. We're not the fastest ship, but we're going to try to close in and get our secondaries in range. But we just can't expose ourselves past that island off our starboard side, because if we do that, we're probably going to get slapped by that Kansas once again. And I'd prefer not to get slapped by that Kansas once again, because he took half our health and we don't have another half to give, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Nebraska's still sailing broadside. We'll let the rest of our guns fly and then turn back in. We're just within secondary range now, but of course, if the secondaries fires, they wouldn't actually hit because they have flight time and all that jazz, so they aren't quite firing yet. There we go, finally within range on the secondaries. We let our secondary targeting, enhanced secondary targeting go, because we are close. Get a couple of hits right there. And our main gun is about to come back loaded. The secondaries are in the air. Nope, nothing quite there. That brings us down to just having to worry about this Pommern, really, as our team has overwhelmed the other side of the map. So as this game closes out, final thoughts on the Navarin. It's a fine ship. I think it's a fine campaign ship. It's fun. It's unique. It's not Michelangelo fun, but it is a taste of something different, and that's always kind of what I want out of premium or out of a campaign ship. So I'm happy to see just what we are getting here as we get into a nice secondary duel with the Pommern, shooting up into that superstructure to get something out of him. And we do manage to get the final kill, giving us a pretty good game. I'm forgetting what our XP total is, but anyways, guys, if you like videos like this, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.